imagine a computer game with many different levels or worlds that can be accessed online by a multitude of users. At its basis, the game consists of a number of pre-programmed environments, which are designed to adhere to certain rule sets. When we enter these environments, it seems like they were already there before we arrived, but in reality, as long as we're not requesting to access them, the computer has no need for rendering them. Instead, they are held inside the computer's memory storage until we request to access them. In this way, the computer saves a lot of computation power. Now, in Einstein's preferred reality, each and every particle that makes up the entire universe exists in an actual location and assumes an actual physical state. In other words, the universe has been built from the bottom up, and everything within it exists as a real physical continuum, regardless of whether we are observing or not. Yet, from the perspective of quantum mechanics, we could ask the question, why would you render an entire universe when you can only explore it one frame at a time? And that is exactly what the wave-particle duality of light and matter seems to hint at. So, does that mean that all of this is happening in your head, and that there is no actual reality apart from your observation? Is your day-to-day experience simply a figment of your imagination? Well, not exactly. Just think about it. When you log into an online multiplayer virtual reality, you are one of virtually limitless users that can all access the same databases simultaneously and draw their experiences from it. However, nobody is requesting to render the entire virtual reality all at once. Only the parts that are relevant to our individual experience require to be rendered, while the rest of the virtual reality remains in superposition. Do you see what I'm getting at? When you think about it, everything you perceive is really taking place inside of your consciousness. There's no way of actually proving that the external reality is really physical, or whether your perceptions are simply downloaded into your consciousness at a non-physical level. For example, when you pick up an object and study its properties, your eyes and fingertips are picking up sense data, which get sent to the designated cortex, where they are translated as images and sensations. So, perception itself is actually taking place inside of your brain, rather than in the external reality. But since the existence of your brain can only be verified through those very same perceptions, ultimately then, the brain is also merely an image inside of your consciousness. All that you can truly know for sure is that you exist as consciousness. Everything else might just as well be a simulation. So let's imagine how your experience of this reality is coming about. In each and every moment, you are logged in to a particular frequency based on the thoughts that you're thinking. Every thought vibrates at a certain frequency and is immediately experienced as a particular emotion. That emotion reveals the signal that you're emitting, and that signal determines how the reality around you resonates with you. In other words, what you send out is what you get back. In much the same way, does wireless communication occur between various transmitters and receivers all around the world. This type of communication is based on the principle of electromagnetism, which is the most prevalent force in the universe. From the atoms that comprise all matter to the light that allows us to see that matter, all the way to the technologies that we ourselves have invented, they are all powered by the same force of electromagnetism. The term itself already suggested electricity and magnetism are two aspects of the same force. The stream of electric charges generates a magnetic field, and a moving magnetic field in turn produces an electric field. That's how electromagnetic waves are able to propagate themselves through space without requiring a physical medium to travel through. They simply perpetuate themselves indefinitely. Furthermore, when two electrical currents are moving in the same direction, they attract each other. And when they're moving in opposite directions, they repel each other. Likewise, if your thoughts are moving in a particular direction, you will attract circumstances, people, and events that resonate with the signal you're emitting. And at the same time, you will repel the things that do not match your frequency. This is also the way in which a vast invisible ocean with countless streams of electromagnetic signals can travel alongside each other, and yet, when we tune our devices to a particular frequency, we will only receive the signal that corresponds to that particular frequency, while the rest of the surrounding signals remains unnoticed. In much the same way, could you imagine how every single human being is transmitting and receiving signals that match the particular wavelength they are on? Those who are vibrating at approximately the same frequency will attract one another, and those who are out of sync will find it difficult to be around each other. The same applies to circumstances and events. Things can only happen to you if they match the signal you're emitting in one way or another. Now add to this the fact that even matter itself appears to be composed of waves, and you can begin to accept that it's really more accurate to say that we're living in a vibration rather than a material world, in a virtual rather than a physical reality. In fact, the Aboriginal people from Australia, whose lineage is estimated to date back approximately 50,000 years, already believed the world to be a sort of virtual reality. They claim that the world has emerged from the dream time, or the dreaming, a realm in which past, present, and future coexist, and from where they are able to communicate with their ancestors, who offer them wisdom and guidance to lead them throughout their waking experience. Certainly, the Aboriginal people are not the only indigenous people that have a very sophisticated understanding of the relationship between the physical and the non-physical realms. In fact, practically all indigenous cultures around the world are known for their long-standing traditions, which they say have granted them access to the non-physical realms. Often this is done by means of ingesting medicinal plants, such as ayahuasca. But there are also many other methods that allow you to reach into alternate states of consciousness. In physical terms, all of these practices appear to be related to the activity of of a tiny gland at the center of the brain called the pineal gland, which is traditionally referred to as our third eye. When the pineal gland is active, it produces a chemical compound known as dimethyltryptamine, which is the active substance found in ayahuasca. Research has shown that DMT is naturally produced when we're asleep and dreaming. It also occurs naturally in many different plants and animals. Perhaps it will soon be discovered that all living organisms actually contain DMT. Furthermore, it is said that large quantities of DMT are released both during physical birth and at the moment of death. Hence, we could think of it as a gateway between the physical and the non-physical realms.